Oh, hi! This week, we're gonna try a very basic project, though I've never done it before, so it could go heinously wrong. But you know those no-sew fleece throw things where it's basically two pieces of fleece, tie a bunch of knots around the edge, and then you have a lovely thick throw blanket. Gonna give it a go. At the point I'm filming right now, I've already done most of the steps because I had to go into a different part of the house because I tried to lay everything out on my nice new cutting space, but it is too big and it just wasn't going to work out down here. So I went up into the attic loft, which is actually my favorite room in the house, especially when it's raining. Or today is the first snow of the year. It's October 30th, so the day before Halloween, and it was really pretty. Yeah, it was nice just kind of enjoying the snow. It sure does look nice and made me want to be cozy as fuck. So yes, I was gifted these two mountains of fleece from my fairy god Cheryl, and it will be gifted once it's in its blanket form to one of my very best friends because she loves Doctor Who, she loves plaid, blue is definitely one of her colors, and I just feel like making her something nice. The second Cheryl mentioned sending me this fabric, I was like, oh, this is immediately going to Moss. We call each other Moss and Roy because of the IT crowd. It's a whole thing. Can you tell that most of our friendship is based off of a mutual love for a lot of British TV programming? So the fleece, well, they're both fleece. So the plaid fleece is way bigger than the TARDIS fabric. So I just laid both of the fabrics out, put the smaller piece on the top, and then cut it to size. Then I cut all the selvages off. I probably should have done that first, but I knew I'd have to even out both fabrics if they were off anyway, so might as well just cut selvages at the same time. Because it's a stretchy fleece and it's just gonna be a throw blanket, I didn't feel like I needed to go to any specific measurements or parameters, just kind of letting the fabric do its thing. I have high hopes that this will still be big enough for at least her and her cat to sit on. His name's Lupin and he is definitely a dog stuck in a cat body. I love him very much. So then, in typical sewing nerd fashion, I overcomplicated measuring out all of the strips I was going to cut by pinning every 2 inches once I had the 6-inch in measurement. By the way, I'm cutting 6-inch deep strips that are 2 inches wide. And you do have to cut the corners out of this, but it's just kind of naturally gonna happen. That's the thing I wasn't sure about, and when I looked up a couple videos on how to go about this, that was much more simple than I thought it was going to be. I did at least 2 of the sides in this very overcomplicated method, and then finally realized if I mark 6 inches in and then just lay the fucking ruler down and cut along every 2 inches. Yes, it was less precise because my 2-inch marks were 6 inches away from the edge and I have bad eyesight. They're probably a little wonky, but these are gonna get knotted into little fringy tassels. So is Moss gonna go through the grueling task of measuring all of these against each other and make sure they're completely parallel to the blanket? I don't think so. All in all, this still took about an hour, if not more, especially because I didn't figure out the quicker method until halfway through doing everything. So, you know, at least I got there in the end. And then I did a thing that's probably gonna make all of you pull your hair out after all of the tedious work I just did. And I folded up the pile because I couldn't handle crouching down on the floor anymore. Also, yes, this is precisely why I wear shorts under my skirts and dresses, even if I'm wearing tights or stockings, because I don't need to be flashing anybody. And I also don't want to be restricted by my outfit and not be able to get into certain positions that I need to get into without even having to think about it. Anyways, we're all caught up now. This is my mountain of fleece. Oh, I have all the scraps in here. This will now go live in my dog toy stuffing pile with all the other scraps. Try not to waste anything because we are fabric hoarders here under the veil of eco-friendly, sustainable sewing where we don't throw anything out. It's all just a ruse, so I don't have to admit I have a problem. So let me show you the basic knot I'm gonna do. I do not have enough coffee in me yet, so we may have to take a breakfast break. Gotta get that bean fuel, both coffee beans and the baked ones. All right. So I have my 2 layers here and I'm going to hold both of them at the same time. This is why I cut such long strips. I feel like the 1 or 2 videos I checked out, they weren't nearly long enough to do this without stressing out about not having enough at the end. So I'm gonna fold it around itself. And I specifically want the plaid showing on the top here. So then I'm just gonna push that knot up until I can't anymore. And now we have our little fringy guy. So I'm gonna do this 10,000 more times. Okay, I took a break. I'm full of beans. Filling up on more coffee currently. Have, I think, 1 short side done, and I'm starting my way down one of the long sides. I'm noticing that because it's stretchier one way, the long sides are going to be easier to cut. No, No, not. That's what we're doing. We already cut them. It's still gonna take forever. But that's okay, because moss is more than craft-worthy, to steal a phrase from fairy god Cheryl. Can I just take a second to gush about how fucking lucky I am that I have the most incredible support network and friend groups, I guess, because they're not all friends with each other. But I'm also at a place where I wouldn't be concerned with mixing any friends. I feel like when I was younger, it felt so compartmentalized that I didn't necessarily feel like I was a different version of myself around other people, but I was probably a little more reserved in certain settings and like completely off the goddamn wall with friends like Moss. I also think I just had a lot of self-confidence issues that I am starting to get better about this year especially. I don't know if y'all have noticed a difference, but I have definitely noticed a difference in myself the past 6 to 9 months, which is weird that, you know, during one of the worst years that's ever existed, I am flourishing personally. Not in every way. This has also been a fucking terrible time. I feel like I have evolved like a fucking Pokemon. Anyways, I've just been able to find my people. I wouldn't be the person I am today and feel so much myself if I didn't have such incredible friends. Thank goodness for internet friends as well. Because for real, y'all, even the community we have here is one of my favorite things in the world. Y'all are such lovely nerds and just seem like really great people. I've had the privilege of becoming friends with a bunch of you and am all the better for it. So if people like y'all are drawn to this little corner of the internet, I must be doing something right by putting my weird shit out, because we just get to band together and be fellow weirdos together. And on the topic of being the luckiest nerd in the world, the fact that so many of you care so hard about me doing what I do here, that I have more patrons this year than any other in the past, is fucking wild. With the year we're having, are you kidding me? I hope I'm doing y'all proud. I know this is going out during Thanksgiving month, but I'm just feeling overwhelmingly appreciative of everybody, so yeah. Ooh, and speaking of patrons, oh my gosh, okay. These will already have gone out by the time you're seeing this, but my Mailtime Perk patrons are getting a card I'm making with one of my first ever fashion sketches that I've held onto for years. I really like how it looks, so I thought I would make it into a print of sorts and then make it into cool little cards. And it's such a highlight of my month every month putting those packages together. They'll all have gotten it by now, which is why I'm showing you, but this video is going to go out in a few weeks. I'm finally getting ahead of things, so that'll have time to keep updating my Etsy shop, which feels good. I'm excited to feel like making stuff for it, because it's been a long time since I felt that way. All right, I've been working on this for so long that it is now time for me to go make myself some lunch. So I will check in once this is completely done. Okay, I am tying the last knot, and this has turned into a kind of buck wild experience. I was sitting and thinking like, this is gonna take a long time to tie all of these knots. This has to be a couple hundred knots, I think. It's like, why am I doing this? It's for Moss. I'm doing this for Moss. And then was thinking like, how much shit this person's done for me. We're not doing this. We are not doing any more of the crying thing. I thought it would be an interesting exercise to think of one thing I was grateful for about Moss with each knot that I tied. And I've just been like drowning in positive things about this very dear person in my life. And it's basically become like a Moss gratitude blanket. And I did not expect this to be such an emotional project. It's a little frustrating because we are in COVID times. And especially now that I've worked through all of this and like thought about how much stuff I appreciate about her, I want to hug her so bad. So I guess I can put hugs into the blanket and then stop putting my face on it and then wrap it up and gift it to her. I do like the idea of doing like a sneak attack delivery. Maybe I'll swing by her work and give her goodies, because shit sucks, man. I miss my friends. This is wanting to like curl up on itself, almost like a fitted sheet. So I'm gonna stretch this out a bit. I know it's gonna crackle here and there, but it's not gonna shred because it's fleece. It doesn't fray. You know, I think about how grateful I am to have the people in my life that I do, and I just wish I could like go back in time until younger me, who was lonely a lot of the time. I was surrounded by people constantly, but just because you're physically around people doesn't mean you feel like you're not stuck inside yourself. And I don't really feel that way that much anymore. And what a blessing for a year like this, right? Is that I think enough of myself, and even without physically being around people that I love, I still feel very connected to them. Thank God for the internet. And I haven't really felt that lonely, but I'm also much more comfortable by myself because of the people in my life. So this took a very weird, so incredibly cheesy turn. We dove headfirst deep in the cheese, and I'm not gonna apologize for it because I'm feeling very overwhelmed with being cared for and having people that I enjoy caring about. So I have my blanket finished. I do have another thing I'm gonna put together for her. This isn't a Christmas gift. This is just a, hey, this made me think of you and I thought you would appreciate it type gift. Y'all probably already knew how to do this kind of thing and much more efficiently than I did, but this was a really cool process to work through. And if there's a friend you've been thinking about but you haven't reached out to because, you know, everyone has a lot going on right now, even if you are stuck at home and you felt overwhelmed and stuff, just let them know, like, hey, I was listening to this song and it made me think of you. This is what y'all can do for me, is just tell someone you care about that you care about them. And I'll see you all back here with another video next Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out. Undercarriage security protocol.